quote is that women interject and men project their anger and violence. Of course, that's only a general rule. Men can interject as well and women can project as well. But whence does this sense of guilt come? Its first stage can be best designated as dread of losing love. See, now we're going to get into something interesting. A bad deed is one that, when discovered, would be followed by the loss of love and of protection for the child. A supposed bad deed. The whole point is it doesn't even need to really be a bad deed, depending on how tyrannical and irrational the parent is. At this state, the sense of guilt is still a social anxiety. It will remain that in its core. That means anxiety that the father or mother, and later the community, will disapprove of and punish the misdoer. You're afraid of the punishment, yes. You maybe even have a sort of a conscience yourself to say, yes, I wish I hadn't done the so-called bad deed. But those are only satellite. The thing that is the absolute core of the anxiety at that point, to make you turn inward with shame and guilt and repress the aggressiveness, is the idea that they may take the love away from you. There's your false love right there. Because as I said before, real love is never taken away. You don't need another person to give it because you've got it inside yourself anyway. So even if they do take it away, you're not one iota less of a person. Why does the child repress its aggressiveness when even that aggressiveness might be right on their part? That aggressiveness may be a natural response to being oppressed, to being suppressed about something it didn't even do badly. But you're going to have to, then the child has to then suppress its healthy aggression in order to keep what is left of the love. Because that love is a pseudo-love that's dangled like a carrot in front of it, to which it becomes a slave for the rest of its life. That very kind of love, and then starts to deliver that kind of conditional love to everyone else it meets, since it works so well. So feelings of guilt occur first after one has committed a forbidden deed. The sense of guilt that is later developed is often unconscious, and is sometimes perceived only as some vague kind of anxiety or uneasiness, for instance in many obsessional cases. It is in these later phases anxiety toward the superego, or so to speak, dread of the superego. We analysts, says Reich, have been inclined to assume that any kind of thwarted instinctual gratification results in the heightening of the sense of guilt. Freud's newest insights convinced him that this is valid only for aggressive instincts. In other words, the origin of guilt feelings is in the area of the aggressive instincts. We are led then, he says, to the assumption that guilt feelings is generated exclusively by aggression and not by other drives. You're made to feel guilty for a natural resistance to oppression, before your reason has even been created. What do I need Illuminati for? When my own parents and society are doing the work for them. If this is correct, we can expect that the same origin and character will be found in the sense of guilt met with in the evolution of mankind. Religion, particularly Christianity, traces the guilt feeling of man back to some original sin, which is conceived as sexual transgression, to the weakness of the flesh or sensual desire. Our whole civilization, including our education, is under the spell of this view. It is common to the moralists, theologians, and philosophers who regard sexuality as the root of man's criminality and sinfulness, as well as to the educators and psychologists, including psychoanalysts, he adds, who hope that freedom from sexual suppression will change man and remove the greatest obstacle in our civilization. This writer is of the opinion that both groups are mistaken and believes that also the guilt feelings of mankind have their roots in aggression and violence. Healthy forms of it. The self saying, I will not submit to your lie. But because it might lose whatever tawdry, empty, useless, vapid, self-satisfying, narcissistic, false love that it, obviously one part of it wants and needs, it will suppress healthy emotions. We have all done it. We are all here because we've done this. We've been forced to do it. And then we go around and have everybody else do it. Percival Simmons says, unconscious elements were originally made unconscious because such thoughts and impulses were not tolerated by parents and teachers in early years. And continued recognition of them would be anxiety-provoking. In order to defend the ego against anxiety, resistances are built up against the recognition of these unconscious impulses. Resistances, defenses, that's what the ego and superego are, just a mass of defenses. Well, what the hell? What's the next step? What's the modern concept of freedom? We don't have the real freedom. What kind of freedom we got now? We got the narcissistic version. have no virtue and morals. I'm free, don't you know? I've been treated honorably by you, so now I've got the right to do the same to you. And in fact, everyone's out to get me anyway. Right? I expect to be treated badly. So even when I'm treated well, I'm suspicious as hell. I'll stand up for myself, meaning pseudo-self, right? I'm tough. I'm out for number one, don't forget. And anyway, I don't need all this love nonsense. And aggression is good, says one part of society, right? It's a rat race anyway. It's survival of the fittest, all that. I'm doing the right thing. We've got tyrants at the top, they take care of themselves. Why can't I grab a bit for myself? Strength and power is important, don't you know? You must dominate. No, that virtue stuff, that's just a social convention. The free man is the superman, he's beyond it. Guilt and remorse for suckers, right? This is where we're going. R.D. Lang says, look, if we can just stop destroying ourselves, maybe then we'll stop destroying other people.